Hi everyone, welcome to How to Make Healthy Living Easy. My name's Jeff Archer, and I've spent the last several years working with individuals and teams within thriving organizations to help everyone feel great and perform at their best. It's wonderful to have the opportunity to share some of the ideas and strategies that I've seen work for people just like you. And because we appreciate that you have many demands on your time, and it's not always easy to prioritize making healthy choices, we'll be focusing our attention on simple habits that everyone can incorporate into their daily routine without too much effort or disruption. It'll probably come as no surprise to you that the most common challenges people face with healthy living fall into three categories: how to fit exercise or activity in around work, family, social commitments, how to sleep well, and how to get set up with a plan for healthy eating and drinking that feels proactive, enjoyable, and sustainable. So these are the areas that we'll look at now. And taking into account that all of these factors can affect our energy levels, both physical and mental energy, we'll look at some specific ways to help you manage your energy so that you can get the most out of everything you do throughout your busy week. Finally, because we know that many people are striving to achieve a slightly better balance between their work, family, social life, and hobbies, we'll look at some ways in which you can create healthy habits that get great results while also leaving you with plenty of time to invest in whatever other activities you like to include in your weekly schedule. So let's get to it. The most important element of making healthy living easy is to get your head in the right space, to adopt the right mindset. This will really help you achieve quick results and also make sure that these results will last. The first step here is to make sure that you spend plenty of time identifying and executing the small things that you can do each day to propel you forwards towards your healthy living goals. And here's how this shift in mindset can be beneficial. Most people are pretty clear about what they want to achieve when they say they'd like to live a healthier life. Their objectives might include things like getting fit, toning up, losing weight, eating better, reducing stress, or improving energy levels. And while having these objectives is great, what can sometimes happen is that people get fixated on the fact that because they're not yet living with all the results that they're looking for with their healthy living, they're somehow failing. And this can be demotivating. So it helps to adopt an approach where instead of asking yourself every day, have I achieved my goals completely yet? Ask yourself if, on balance, have I done enough today to move a little closer to achieving my objectives, even just a tiny bit? Answer honestly, do you feel like today there have been more positive moments in relation to healthy living than negative ones? And if they have, be proud of these achievements and build on them the following day. If you feel like you could have done better, ask yourself what specifically could you have done differently, and make sure you use this knowledge to make some positive changes the following day. So this approach is an integral part of a growth mindset. You can either make progress today, or you can learn something today that will help you make progress tomorrow. And then one day you'll have achieved all of your healthy living goals, and it won't have felt like a massive effort. At which point you can either set some new goals or just get super clear on what you need to continue prioritizing each day from now on to maintain this current success. The main reason this mindset shift makes such a difference is that you're establishing an approach where healthy habits are a regular feature of your routine, every day, consistently, day after day, week after week, without you having to spend very much time or effort thinking about them, which puts an end to stop-start results once and for all and puts you in control of all your healthy living results, which is a great place to be. So we promised we'd make healthy living easy. So here's how to work through a simple 3-step process to help anyone move from their current routine with healthy habits that may not be ideal for them to a situation that's much more to their liking. So step 1 is to sketch out exactly what you'd like a typical healthy living week to look like in the future. You can think about things like what time will you do your exercise? What exercise will you be doing? How much time would you like to spend on exercise? What does a good week of healthy eating look like for you? What would you like to eat? What times do you take your meals and snacks? Where will you be as you consume these meals and snacks? Who will you be with? Which meals or snacks might you need to prepare in advance? And which might you be buying on the move? And where on your travels might you be able to pick up some healthy options? Then also think about, what does a week of good sleep look like you? What's your ideal bedtime? When do you need to wake up each day? And finally, how much time each week is ideal for you to spend on work? How much time with the family? What social events would you like to commit to? What hobbies or interests would you like to make time for? You get the idea. Next, make some notes on what your current weekly routine looks like. Now, it's important here that you're not making any judgments, just observations on what's happening. Don't worry if you're someone who doesn't really have a typical week, because your routine might change a lot. Just pick any week. This week, last week, it doesn't really matter. What's important is that you make some headline observations on where your time goes. It's likely that the greatest chunks of time will be devoted to work and sleep. So it's really important to get a handle on the details of time spent in both of these areas. It's also true that the effectiveness of both your work and your sleep will be affected by the other things going on in your week. So it's a really useful exercise to gather data on what these activities are, so we can review how well they all work for you. Finally, step 3 is to identify all the small changes that you can make to begin the process of moving steadily from how you spend your time and energy currently to how you'd like your weeks to look in the future. So what's realistic for you? Where are the lowest effort, highest impact shifts that you could make? If you like, you can use this template, which will help you to look at the overview of the whole week and make some notes around what's happening now and what you'd like to be happening in the future. So let's have a look at how we can apply this process when addressing it to the most common challenges that we face for healthy living: exercise, sleep, and food. When it comes to creating successful exercise routine, the most important thing is to be realistic, to focus not on what you think you should do, but what you actually have time to do. And here's why. So when people think about exercise, too often they have an all or nothing approach. They think, if I'm going to do this exercise thing, I need to do it properly. I need to come up with a perfect solution, and I need that perfect solution right away. The problem with the all or nothing approach is that too often it ends with nothing getting done. Usually because with exercise, the notion of doing it all is just too much of a leap from the current situation to establish any kind of regular traction. Another factor at play here is that because we'd like our exercise routine to be perfect, we often wait for circumstances to be just right to get the whole plan started. But in most cases, just the right moment never arrives. So we roll on from day to day with the desire to get active, but no action, and therefore no results, which can consume a lot of mental energy without actually moving anything forwards. On the other hand, what we often observe is that when people start small with exercise and actually get started, they very quickly feel more positive about their whole situation, because they've replaced a sense of frustration with a sense of achievement. Because small actions lead to progress, and progress leads to motivation. You will keep going, you'll do more, and you'll get increasing results. So by taking the action, almost any action will do to begin with. You put yourself in a situation where you can avoid wasting any time or energy focusing on an all bells and whistles exercise routine that sounds ideal in theory, but doesn't actually work in practice. And instead, you can enjoy the results of a recalibrated exercise routine that actually fits your schedule. So if you're looking at your current week and you see limited time to fit in your exercise program, look instead at where you might be able to fit in smaller chunks of exercise activity or movement, something that no matter how small will get you started. So this could be identifying where you might be able to add in some extra daily steps. Do you have 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning, at the end, in the middle of a day where you could do some stretching, some bodyweight exercises, some skipping, or maybe put together a quick workout at home, in the garden, in the local park, with exercises using a resistance band or even a couple of bottles of water? Could you do any of your calls or meetings on the move? Is there anything active that you can do with friends or family today? All of these are great first steps towards establishing regular exercise habits. Remember also there are plenty of ways to incorporate functional activity into your routine. Things as simple as thinking about how you sit, stand, and how you move, how you breathe, how you stretch, and can you regularly remove tension from your body and mind. So good posture is something that you can be working on at all times of the day. It's a great way to boost your energy while reducing the risk of many aches and pains or injuries. So it's a simple adjustment to move from a position where we're slouched and hunched forwards, meaning that you risk tightness in the back, shoulders, and the neck, perhaps, as well as restricting breathing, into a position where we're more upright, shoulders back and relaxed, feeling energized, and chest and lungs open. All you need to do is think about creating a vertical line from your ears through your shoulders to your hips, with your knees at 90 degrees and your feet flat when you're sitting, and that same vertical line from your hips through your knees to your ankles when you're standing. So if you can make some of these adjustments while sitting, standing, you can do some of them whilst driving if you spend a lot of time in the car, when you're working, when you're walking around. Not only will you feel more energized, but this can also be a really solid foundation to make all other exercise and activity more effective. So making this physical adjustment is often a way to trigger a mental shift and regularly reinforce that you're on the case with healthy living. So good posture in itself is a great proactive healthy living step, but it can also be the foundation to a sequence of other healthy living behaviors, which you can often put into simple stacking systems. So one that we often recommend is if you check your posture, then you take a few deep breaths, you relax your shoulders, maybe stretch some part of your body, feel like you're releasing tension, you might move around a little bit. That might be the trigger to get hydrated. And all of these things could take minutes, if not even moments, but they can dramatically change how you feel throughout each day, which can in turn make a huge difference to how well you're able to rest and recover at night. Which brings us to sleep and how we can apply our 3-step process to this vital part of our weekly routine. So on the notes that you've made for where your time goes currently, take a look at what time you're going to bed, what you do in the lead up to falling asleep, and what time you wake up in the mornings. From these observations, we can usually identify a few opportunities to make improvements. So good sleep is too often left to chance, and here are a few ways to get proactive and give yourself the best chance of getting to sleep at a time that suits you and making sure that your sleep is good quality. The first thing to note is that sleep quality is improved by tuning into your sleep cycles. So these sleep cycles are typically between 90 and 100 minutes in duration, which is where the general prescription of 7.5 to 8 hours of sleep comes from, all based on the research that most people operate best when they're able to achieve 5 complete sleep cycles through the night. So let's say you work best with a 90-minute sleep cycle. Your ideal future week, maybe look at the time that you need to wake up and then work backwards 7.5 hours to determine the time by which it's best that you fall asleep. For example, if you like to wake up at 7, the ideal time for you to go to sleep could be 11:30. 5 sleep cycles of 90 minutes equals 7.5 hours. That's our 11:30 p.m. to 7 a.m. sleep window. So if you're looking to adjust your sleep routine or establish a quite different sleeping pattern from the one you have currently, for most people it's easier to pick a time and regulate their hours by first stabilizing the wake time. So painful as it may feel initially to force yourself out of bed at a specific time when you might still be feeling quite tired, we generally have a bit more control over this than we do over the moment that we're about able to go to sleep. So it's easier to force yourself to wake up than it is to force yourself to fall asleep when you're not at all tired. So if you first regulate your wake time, then you're much more likely to be tired at the time that you want to fall asleep. The second part of making sure that the time you go to bed is the time you go to sleep, rather than tossing and turning and ruminating on the day, is to make sure that you plan an intentional pre-sleep routine. So all you need to do for this is map out a step-by-step sequence of what happens in the run-up to your chosen sleep time so that you can gradually relax, unwind, clear your head, and ensure that you fall asleep effectively and stay asleep through the night. So your pre-sleep routine might be a plan for 10 to 15 minutes. For example, go to bed at 10:45 and read till 11 p.m. when you fall asleep, or it could be for a couple of hours. Think about wrap up any evening tasks by 9 p.m., clear up the house by 9:15, watch any television or Netflix till 10:15, get ready for bed by 10:30, and then maybe scroll something or read or listen to a podcast or meditate even in preparation to be ready for sleep at 11. You may even want to consider framing the whole day as part of your pre-sleep routine. It's likely that many of the choices that you make around food, drink, activity, how you manage stress, relationships, how you communicate with other people, these can all have a positive or negative impact on how you sleep. And so looking at these daily decisions through this lens can be another great way to identify where you can make small adjustments during your waking hours that could add up to dramatic results with your sleep quantity and quality. If I had to suggest one top tip here, it would be simply to try to incorporate some breaks during the day, however busy you are. One thing that often prevents people from sleeping well is that after a busy day, they only just about catch up with themselves later in the evening, at which point they're trying to process and make sense of the whole day at precisely the time that they should be preparing to get good sleep. So if you're able to build in some breaks during the day, this can help you process the day as you go, leaving your brain less to sort out as you calm your mind in readiness for quality sleep, rest, and recovery. These breaks are also great for helping you manage your energy, as they give you the opportunity to reset and recharge regularly throughout each day. They're also a really useful way to make sure that you deploy your energy and efforts to the appropriate tasks. When we're busy, it can be very easy to get sucked into tasks and allow them to take longer than they need to, and usually at the cost of other things that we could and should be doing. So taking moments to pause and reflect helps you stay on track throughout the day. One great way to get into the routine of taking short breaks is to plan regular moments when you can pause and even just run through the sequence that we mentioned above. Check your posture, take deep breaths, roll your shoulders, stretch, get hydrated, and then return to whatever you were doing, feeling refreshed with renewed energy and focus. So you're getting the hang of the process now. The next thing to look at in your notes of how your current week is your food. What you eat, when you eat it, how much you consume, and how all of this leaves you feeling. The one really important thing to look out for, something that we see a lot, which can make a massive difference when addressed, is leaving gaps that are too long between meals and snacks. So leaving long periods of time between taking fuel on board can result in low blood sugar, leaving us feeling low energy, physically and mentally, and of course feeling hungry, which is the body's way of telling us to eat. It's a basic survival instinct. So the longer we leave it between meals, the more hungry we feel, which usually results when we finally give in to hunger in reaching for sugary options, high fat options, or probably just more of anything than our body actually needs at the time, just so we can stabilize our blood sugar and our energy levels. So one common example of this, how it works in practice, is if you have a busy day at work with little opportunity to eat, you return home feeling ravenous and reach for the biscuits, crisps, wine, beer, or anything similar while you're thinking about what to cook or order in for dinner. So if you observe long gaps in your current routine, something to focus on for the future is regulating your intake of meals and snacks. And a good rule of thumb here is to not go for more than 4 hours without consuming some type of fuel, because after 4 hours, you'll definitely feel low energy, you'll feel famished, you end up making quick, less healthy choices. So this is where snacking is your friend. Snacking seems to have developed a bad reputation, but the issue is more the choices people make for snacks. Snacking isn't bad, but you do need to think about what type of snacks you include in your routine. So taking the time to brainstorm a few options that you can rely on to top up your energy levels, and also that you can access easily, can be time really well spent when it comes to how well you feel and how well you perform every single day. So what to eat can be a very personal thing, but solutions that often work for healthy snacks include substituting rice cakes instead of crisps, fruit and nuts instead of chocolate, wraps and hummus instead of muffins. If you're looking for more inspiration to think about these things, we've put a couple of templates here, and then you can also follow these links to get ideas for snacks and for various meals through the day. I wouldn't suggest overcomplicating it, but I think some kind of new things every now and again keep it interesting, keep it varied, and keep you on track. So like most things in life, executing a healthy eating plan simply requires a bit of planning. Essential part of this planning to always make sure that what you've got is close to hand, meaning it's quicker and easier to make those choices than it is to end up consuming something that you know isn't the best choice for you. So this is especially important if your days are long or if you're on the move a lot. Healthy eating, it won't happen by chance, but prioritizing it a little planning and preparation, it is possible to eat better and feel better every day. So take a look at some of the ideas and see what you can incorporate into whatever your schedule looks like to help you stabilize the energy, stabilize the focus, and feel positive. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to work for the majority of the time, which will move you steadily towards your goals. So the final element of making healthy living easy is finding ways to simply remember to make the right choices. So this might sound basic, but we do hear it a lot. People say, I know what I need to do, but I'm often just too busy to remember what that is or to carve out the time to do it. So we suggest that everyone gets into the habit of a short weekly check-in with themselves. So ideally, you'll find a calm, quiet spot that allows yourself a little time for reflection, and then apply an easy framework for the check-ins, because this is really valuable. This could take the form of a couple of simple prompt questions like, what went well and where are my opportunities to build on this over the coming week? Or when and where do I think I could make better decisions for the next week to come? Something that just shapes how you think and review and plan. In his very popular book, Atomic Habits, which lots of people seem to be reading at the moment, and I definitely recommend, James Clear suggests the idea that we don't rise to the level of our goals, but we fall to the level of our systems. So what we often encourage people to do is when you think about these questions that frame your review, to come up then with a system that helps you make it easy to execute positive behaviors more often. For example, if healthy eating worked well in one particular week, identify what did you plan, what did you prep, what might you have pre-ordered, packed, or shopped for that made that happen. This then you can replicate. If exercise didn't go so well for a week, think about the tweaks that you can make to the system that could be a revision for next week. So this could be laying out your workout kit the night before, going straight to the gym rather than going home first, or adding accountability to your plans by arranging to exercise with others, or sharing your plans with someone who will check up on you. When you get into the routine of regular check-ins with yourself, which is of course a system in itself, these check-ins won't necessarily take long. They'll probably just take a few moments, but these few moments could really positively affect how the rest of your week runs. And the more you systematize the wins, the less energy it takes to stay on track. So healthy living isn't always about doing everything perfectly. It's about doing a few things well and doing those few things consistently. So if you focus on progress, take small steps, build systems, and check in weekly, you'll find that you can make healthy living easy. And that's also what makes healthy living sustainable. Finally, for any periods when you're super busy, here's a quick summary sheet listing a few healthy living priorities that we know make an enormous difference. Of course, you don't have to do all of these every single day, but maintaining consistency with even a few of them will definitely keep you on track. So good luck and stay healthy.